Hi, everyone, and welcome to this CPE webcast, Data Security, Compliance, and Outsourcing for Accounting and Tax Firms. This 50-minute CPE session is brought to you by CPAPracticeAdvisor.com and by CTROM. CTROM is one of the leading providers of custom cloud hosting solutions for CPA firms, backed by AI security technology solutions and senior-level engineers who consistently achieve 5-star customer satisfaction ratings. Primarily serving the accounting industry since 2001, CTROM creates custom IT solutions to meet specific user, mobile, security, and application needs for CPA firms. CTROM consistently ranks at or near the top of several categories in the CPA Practice Advisor Reader's Choice Awards each year. I'm Isaac O'Bannon. I'm the managing editor of CPA Practice Advisor, and I've been here for 21 years. I'll be your moderator today. I've worked with technology, CPAs, and tax professionals for about 25 years. Now, CPA Practice Advisor was founded in 1991 and provides digital, print, video, podcasts, and other resources and news for accounting and tax pros. Now, before we get started, let me explain how you can earn the CPE credits for this webcast. The webcast is 50 minutes and qualifies for 1 CPE credit in the field of, actually, I'm going to have to double check that. It should be data security and firm management, or for general CPE. If you want that credit, you need to stay with us for at least 50 minutes. That's 50 minutes. And this webcast is not eligible for IRS CE participants. During the webcast, we'll display 3 polling questions. In each poll, you need to record an answer. This is our verification that you are still watching and engaged in the webcast, and it's how we can offer CPE. After the event, you'll be presented with a post-event evaluation survey form. Filling out the form is optional, but you must submit it, even if it is blank, as that is also a required part of receiving CPE credit. Once you do that submission of that evaluation form, the CPE credit certificate will be sent to you via the email that you used to register for this event. And also note that if you have multiple people watching from the same screen, monitor, etc., there is an opportunity for you to enter additional names and you can all receive CPE credit. There's a blank question field at the bottom of your screen that allows you to interact if you have pressing questions you'd like addressed during the webcast. Some questions may not be able to be addressed and they will be followed up on after the event. Today's learning objectives are cyber landscape update, why are CPA firms being targeted, how to manage data security and compliance, tips for securing your hybrid workforce, benefits of an outsourced IT solution, and questions you should be asking your IT provider. At the end of the presentation, you will be able to download the slides and some other event resources from the left side of your screen. Okay, I know that's a bit of a mouthful there. Today, I'm joined by Chris Stark. Chris is the president and CEO of CTROM, and he has more than 30 years experience in the IT industry and working with accounting firms to help them realize greater productivity and profitability through technology. Now we're ready to begin. Hey, Chris.
Thank you, Isaac, and thank you for that generous introduction. And thank you all. Good morning, good afternoon, from wherever you are, and whatever time it may be, even in the future. My goal today is really to give you some knowledge that you can take back to your firm today. I'm a pragmatic man, and sometimes you just want to get to the point of what do I need to know and how do I move forward? Yes, we're going to talk a little bit about theory, but we're also going to dive a little deep on security and some things that you can take back to your firm today to apply, especially as we're in between tax seasons at the moment, but maybe something you could focus on during the fall months here. So a little bit about us. We've been around since 2001. We're a private company. We've been rated the top hosting provider in multiple organizations. We are the Washington, D.C. area, which gives us access to great talent, IT talent, and staying on the cutting edge of security and technology. We have data centers 100% in the U.S. on Sterling, Virginia, and Denver, Colorado, serving our clients in over 42 different states today. And by far, the number one thing we worry about, and so should you, is security and customer service. Taking care of our customers and making sure they're secure, especially knowing who we are and knowing who you are in the industry, is important. A little bit of a brag sheet here, front and center, very proud of it. CPA Practice Advisory, 5 years in a row, gave us their 5-star award. Thank you for that. We're also very involved with a lot of technical organizations, and one of the other areas that I focus my organization is culture. I come from the school of taking care of your people, and your people will take care of your clients. We're in the trenches with you all. We know and understand the challenges of a lot of different applications we host. We actually host over 300 different applications today. But just to mention a couple of the big ones that we all are aware of, the pros, the cons, the challenges, the setup, the updates, the upgrades, you name it, the integrations. We're very involved with our customers in the trenches of helping our customers be more efficient and effective using these applications to make sure they're running optimally. So what do? We are a full service IT solution provider. We prefer to call ourselves a custom cloud provider. We really tailor our product to our clients. We're 100% US based. You're 24/7, 365, staffed by senior engineers, deploying a ton of advanced AI security solutions to help mitigate risks for our customers and cybersecurity threats. Of course, we're doing backups in multiple ways with multiple technologies. We're doing all the updates and patches and upgrades and integrations with all these applications that our clients use and you use today. We're constantly doing end-to-end troubleshooting and network monitoring to make sure that things are running optimally. And we also provide educational services to our customers to help them use these tools and technologies to be more effective and also more secure. We do get involved with IT strategy and security and planning, and we do have a virtual CIO service. But enough about me, let's jump into the fun. So we're going to talk about a lot of different areas of business because there are a lot of changes going on in the industry. One is right out of the gate is the landscape of security and why CPA firms are being targeted. I think we all know the answer, but we're going to dive a little deeper into that. How do we manage our security and compliance? And there are some new compliances that went live as of June 9th of 2023. Tips in security in your hybrid workforce. We understand the challenges of the workforce, that hiring and retaining great people, and sometimes they're in other states, but how do you manage that? And how do you maintain security across, whether it's inside the United States or if you're thinking about offshoring work? Benefits of outsource IT solutions, focusing on what you do best. And then we're going to open it up for questions and answers. We do have several of our staff members behind the scenes that are monitoring the chat group right now. If you have a question, feel free to ask that question. We will be asking some questions at the end, answering some questions live, and we will leave our contact information at the last slide so that you can contact us offline if you want to talk about something more specific. So let's talk about cyber landscape at the moment. These are the numbers, guys and gals. And we know accounting firms love numbers, and this is really what you should be focusing on, trying to justify your return on investment to invest in security. Cyber attacks have increased 38% just in 1 year for 2022, and that's up from 2021, and that's up from 2020. It's a growing line of business that it's turning into $1 trillion line of business. 82% of all breaches involve human. The technology is doing the best it can, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of social engineering taking place that's tricking your staff. And this is why we're going to really focus on social engineering and how important it is to train your team on how to be critical thinkers. The average breakout time has decreased from 98 minutes to 84 minutes. What does that mean? It only takes 84 minutes for somebody to penetrate, get in your network, and do some serious damage or possibly extort you. That's a scary number. We prefer that number to go the other way around. Average cost, and this is your key to your return on investment. The average cost of a breach is costing an organization, on average, across the United States, $4.4 million. Now, when you compare that number to the investment cost we're talking about of investing into latest and greatest technologies, consulting services, hardening your assets, et cetera, I guarantee that number is going to be less than $4.4 million, not to mention your reputation in the industry. Globally, cyber crimes have turned into a $10.5 trillion line of business by 2025. These are big numbers. Unfortunately, we have some very smart people that have decided to take their line of business into the attacking world, especially as a lot of IT companies are having layoffs. These people are getting hungry, and now they're changing their direction to attacking and extorting and getting money from you. Why are CPAs primary targets? Well, let's be honest, you have money. and you're doing well in the line of business. The tax industry is still doing well. You have data they want. CPAs are rule followers. You're storing sensitive financial data that you don't want to get out no matter what. And this is sensitive data for all firm sizes, no matter how small, medium, or large you are. And especially the smaller ones are more target because most likely you don't have the budget to invest into these higher end security products. You have critical deadlines, the high stakes, there's across the year. You're targeting high profile individuals, partners with keys, and firm size doesn't matter. Attackers know that accounting firms, law firms, and health practices are high value targets because the data and the confidentiality and the trust that your clients have in you. And if that information gets out or it's stored for any reason or you lose that data, they know it's a game over for your business. Hence why they're extorting companies like you and trying to get in a ransomware and make some quick money off of you. The threats are evolving. Still, number one by far is social engineering. They're trying to trick your staff to clicking on things, opening things, save things. They'll often be spoofing somebody that's not them, including making their signature look like maybe one of your vendors or your customers. They're getting that sophisticated. We've even seen where they're leaving real phone numbers at the bottom of an email trying to trick you. And if you called that phone number, it actually goes to the attacker. Ransomware extortion is on the rise. This is not only just encrypting all your data, but now they're going to call you up and say, unless you do this, we're going to share your data throughout the public internet. How embarrassing could that be? Account takeovers is on the rise, especially with Office 365. This is where the attacker introduces themselves between the, let's say, Office 365 and them, and now they're bypassing your email, and the emails are going to them instead of you by injecting rules into your Outlook email. Wire transfer fraud is a big problem and a big deal. It's so important that you verify all the information before you wire that money to the destination. AI-powered attacks, we all are hearing about AI. Yes, it is now being introduced into the cyber landscape. And cryptojacking, and this gets into BitLocker, et cetera, and trying to get control of your keys. Social engineering attacks, we're going to really focus on this because it can be mitigated. We're investing in time and energy into training your team. People are the weakest link. They get tricked. You're busy. You're between meetings. You click on something. It looks familiar. It happens. Targets of interest, and they're using social engineers like, for example, if you're into basketball or whatever, they'll use those likes to try to introduce themselves to get closer to you so they can make a target attack, including your loved ones. They're targeting the significant others in your life to try to get to these higher value targets. Hackers are taking advantage of targeting persons based on online profiles. And this is why it's so important what information you put online. One, to factor that information and protect it, but two, be careful what information, because that's giving the attacker a profile information about your likes, what do you like, and try to introduce themselves into your world to try then make them trust you. You and your team should operate a zero trust model. Trust but verify everything. Don't assume anything. If something looks odd, then most likely it is. And qualifying, verifying those emails that are coming in. And this is where training comes in and how to train your team on how to be critical thinkers. So when an email does come in or a link comes in, verifying the from address and verifying that it's actually the full address. Just because it says a name doesn't mean it's the actual person that's sending it to you. This is such a critical component of social engineering. And Isaac, we have our first question, sir.
Okay, ding ding, everybody who's participating for CPE, you do need to answer this. So we want to know what keeps you up at night in terms of data security. Number one, data security. Two, data compliance. Three, talent retention or attraction issues, or managing remote or offshore workers, or all of the above. I have a question, Chris. You've seen that explosion of, or at least a continued increase of breaches. Do you think some of that is related to the increase in number of people working from home, whether permanently or a hybrid, that they've introduced more threat to their operations because they've got disparate systems and users?
Absolutely, Isaac. It's because of what happened in 2020. A lot of firms had to adjust their organizations and operate from a remote environment. Instead of being able to plan and roll these solutions out, a lot of firms just had to do what they needed to do and enable remote access. And so there are a lot of holes still out there in networks and security and methodologies. So it's been a couple of years now, but still firms need to come back and revisit their remote access solution and how their staff is logging in and accessing the data at all levels. Totally agree with you, Isaac.
Okay, Kathleen, I'm trying to see the results on that, and I'm not seeing them right now. Either if you can provide me a little guidance, or are you able to see them yet, Chris?
I am not. I'm still seeing the questions.
Okay. Well, we can also move on a little bit. I'm sure that when it comes to the hybrid workforce and the risks that can be present in that, a dedicated hosting provider with really deep IT and accounting industry background can help ensure the security of those systems, no matter where the users are.
Yeah, by virtue of being a hosting provider, we're used to that everybody's logging in remotely from anywhere, anytime, anyhow, whether it's be the home office or the office. They're set up from ground up to operate in a hybrid work model, if you will, or in the office. But yes, by nature of being a hosting provider, they should be, absolutely. All right. If those results come up, we will stop for a second, but I'm going to move on to the next slide here in interest of your time. So how to manage data security and compliance. And there's a lot of new challenges that accounting firms are having this year. We know that firms, some of the rules have changed, or there are new rules that we've known about that actually went into effect. And one of the biggest by far, now doing business with accounting firms for over 23 years, this FTC compliance and safeguards rule is by far one of the biggest changes and compliances that I've seen in the industry. And a lot of firms either knew about this and put on the back burner, or B, didn't realize it applied to them. Well, if you do tax, this is specifically for firms that do tax, no matter how small you are or how large you are, this applies to you. Now, if you're above 4,000 customers, yes, there's some even additional safeguards like annual pen testing and documentation. But if you're an accounting firm today doing tax for customers, even if you're one-man shop, one-woman shop, you have to, one, have two-factor integration at every level where you're accessing data. That, for example, means your local machine, your mobile devices, which is a lot of firms are not realizing that the iPhones and Androids we use to check our email, that's applicable to those devices also. A lot of us share email. A lot of us share data via email. And if you're receiving data on those personal devices, you have to roll out a two-factor solution. All data must be secure and encrypted at rest and in transit. That's a big deal. A lot of computers may have those enabled on your local PC, may not. That's a regulation now in place as of June 9th this year. Now, if you're above 4,000 users, or excuse me, if you have above 4,000 customers, and there's some debate, is that a unique social security numbers? Is that unique companies? There's some debate there because it is a little gray, but it just says 4,000 customers. And I assume it's everybody that has a social security number. You, one, have to have a designated security coordinator. At least it has the role of that. Conducting risk assessments annually, minimum. Implementation of your information safeguards. What steps are you taking and documenting those in writing on preventing a cyber attack or threats? And where's the data stored? And you're also expected to regularly test and monitor these systems and document the testing and monitoring. You have to manage your third-party vendors. This is on the up, by the way, according to our cybersecurity attorney. One of the number one ways that things are getting worse is because you may be doing everything you need to do, but maybe you have an API integration with another vendor that's sharing data between you and that vendor. Well, what are they doing about security? What hardening are they doing? So now you're getting to the business of, qualifying not just yourself and your security posture, but also verifying your vendors that you're transmitting and sending data to and from. And we all use a lot of vendors, so think about that for a second, how involved that is. You're supposed to also have an employee education program in place, and this is for all firms. Technologies like KnowBe4 or Barracuda have social engineering training. And a lot of insurance companies are also asking you to do this for all your staff, but also the FTC compliance is asking you to do this. So enrolling in a, let's say, KnowBe4 technology and getting your staff on a reoccurring training program and testing your staff is part of a requirement today. You should also have an incident response plan. Prepare for the worst and don't save it on the network. Save it in a red book, a 3-ring binder, stored offline with all the phone numbers and people and your plan to recover. This all needs to be documented offline. Trust me, if and when you have an emergency, you're not going to have time to think. You're trying to get your business back to up and operational. Therefore, having a well-planned plan, is while you're not in the threat is ideal time to work on this and bring many people a part of this problem. Test and update your incident response plan on a regular basis. Keep in mind, as IT changes, which changes a lot, you have to update this plan. You have to constantly update all the variables. Where's the data stored? What systems am I putting in place to protect that data? What's my backup and disaster recovery plan? What security measures do I have in place, including least privilege model, et cetera?
Hey, Chris, I want to jump in here. Apparently, we're not the only ones who had a little tech difficulty with that first polling question. So we've been asked to go ahead and relaunch that polling question. Chris, if you can go back to slide number 12 and just bring it up. And Catherine, our webcast production person, will bring up the survey form for anybody that still needs to take it. I'll read through that again real quick. What keeps you up at night? Data security, data compliance, talent retention or attraction issues, managing remote or offshore workers, and all of the above. And we did get some of the initial responses, so quite a few people were able to get through. And for Chris, if you look over to your presentation surveys tab, you can see the results on that. And right now, in keeping with the topic of this webcast, it does look like by far most people are saying data security, data compliance, and about a quarter of them are all of the above.
All the above for me.
So can we get confirmation from Catherine that survey did launch, that our participants, our viewers did see it, and then if you can push the results out for them, and then Chris will move on with the slides.
Great, thank you, Isaac.
Okay, Catherine says she did it, so hopefully everybody's happy. And back to you, Chris, on slide number, I think you're right. 15, okay.
Yeah, you're taking the time of your day. You got to get those CPE credits all. Thank you. So do you have a WISP? This is something that we haven't been talking about as much, but if you have many taxpayers, your PTIN holders, don't know that they also require by federal and many state laws to have a written information security plan. And this is a separate document outside of the employee manual that talks about your security plan. In fact, we're also including in our download section a sample security plan or WISP, to help you and guide you in the right direction, including the names of all your information security program managers, identify all risks, customer data, where is data stored, how is it stored, how is it being backed up, what systems are you taking in place to protect that data, where is it geographically and logically stored, evaluating your risks and safety measures, program that protects your data, put the data protection program in place, and then regularly monitor and test the program. Basically a lot of paperwork and obviously verifying that all this is in place. And this is for any and all tax preparers, PTIN holders, should have this in place, separate, on the network, isolated at its own document. And like I said, we have a template for you that you can download to hopefully help and guide you in the right direction. So let's talk a little bit more about information safeguards. There's some things that you can do now, and we're going to keep this a little high level, but I'm going to go into a little bit technical specifics and implementing and reviewing your access controls. And that's all about your user accounts, the privileged accounts, what data they have access to, and then also following a least privilege model, meaning not giving everybody access to everything. One, that's a potential risk for cyber attacks because the cyber attack will often use the credentials that you're using to then attack your network. Know what you have and where it's located. And where the risk is. Where's that customer data? Is it in a SQL database? Is it on a file server? What devices? And knowing and documenting where that data is key. Is it with a cloud provider? Knowing and understanding where your sensitive data is key. Make sure that all the data is encrypted at rest and in transit. And that includes email, folks. Email is not a secure solution. So if you're working with a provider or you have an add-on, email is not a secure way to transmit data, including attachments. And by taking a document and putting a password on the document is not encryption. In fact, those can be hacked with a $10 tool. So using a specific encryption tool that's designed for your email will often send a link to your customer will register, and then will download the document. That is the only secure way to transmit confidential data, not through email. Evaluating third-party app security and is testing your vendors and qualifying your vendors. What are your vendors and your API integrations? We're all trying to become more efficient in our work habits, and we're teaming up with different vendors to try to help improve our workflows. But qualifying those vendors is key, and documenting, asking them, are they SOC 2 Type 2? Are they encrypting your data in transit and at rest? Are they practicing least privilege model? And don't always believe the salesperson. Believe the documentation that's audited, preferably like an AICPA SOC 2 report, and then getting access on that SOC report under NDA will give you the details. Again, salespeople will say a lot of things. They don't necessarily understand the technology. Implement multi-factor authentication, also known as 2FA, for everything. And I mean everything, because we already know the social engineering attacks are taking place. They're going to look at your Facebook, your Twitter account, your LinkedIn account, your favorites, your significant others. They're trying to get access to who you are and what you like so they can get inside your world. But also having MFA and 2FA on Facebook and Google and of course, your banks and access to your critical systems is not only required for FTC, but now insurance carriers, if you have a cybersecurity plan, are required. So this is a key component, including your local workstations, accessing your email on the road, accessing your email through your mobile device, any data, any access into every product and service you log into, use MFA. And best practice, by the way, for MFA is using the app. Text messaging 2FA is not as secure as using an app like, let's say, Duo. Even email passwords is not as secure as using an app. There's a lot of technical explanation behind that, but SMS or text messaging and email is not the most secure. Using an app, a proprietary app that sends you a 6-digit code, is the best way. Dispose of customer data properly. Getting that certified, not just clicking delete data is not secure. Often hard drives need to be scrubbed and written with 1s and 0s, but deleting a file or deleting a folder, that data still resides on that hard drive. It's just not, you just can't see it. But if you can reverse engineer those hard drives and get that data off of that. Anticipate, evaluate, change your IT solutions in the network. IT is changing all the time. It's moving at lightning speed. So you've got to keep up with the changes, the integrations, the new versions, et cetera. Where's the data being stored? And that means getting heavily involved with your IT team, understanding which servers the data has it on, and how are you protecting them, and asking them tough questions. Maintain a log of all authorized activity and monitor for unauthorized access. This gets a little bit more complicated, gets a little bit more expensive and time consuming, but knowing your threats and knowing the vector and how they're getting into your environment is key to also understanding how to stop them. And Isaac, we have another question.
All right, so everybody out there, this is polling question number 2. Are you FTC compliant? Yes, we're all set. You're not sure. You're not FTC compliant yet, but you're working on it. No, we need help, and you'd rather not say. And if you are, I just would like to add, if you think you're FTC compliant, how confident are you? And are you willing to back it up with your checking account, your wallet, your customer reputation, and all of that? I think if there's any doubt in your mind, you need to seek someone out as far as an IT professional consultant that knows the accounting space, and have them do a check on you.
Yeah, and the penalties for what a lot of people don't realize is that the penalties, there's some teeth in this. It's a $100,000 fine for every partner for every violation of this. So now they're tacking on penalties for being out of compliance. Now, I haven't heard any stories on the market yet, but it's there, it's out there, and none of us want to be on the front page of any page about this.
Or it looks like we are starting to get some results here. You know, we have about a quarter of the attendees say they are all set when it comes to FTC compliance. and about a quarter say they're not sure. And if you're not sure, you probably aren't. And then the other half is generally working on it. So is that pretty much what you see, with your clients, Chris?
Well, our clients are already in this direction. We've been monitoring this for over a year and a half, 2 years now. So a lot of our clients that either were slow to adopt or either on their way or already there. This is something we've been pushing really hard for a long time. What a lot of firms don't realize, one, is there's a misunderstanding that they thought they may have to have 4,000 plus customers to be applicable to this. That's not true. If you're doing tax for a customer, this applies to you. And it takes a lot of restructuring and maybe some upgrades, and that's why we're working with Azure, et cetera, to roll out the security policies to help our customers get there or get there already.
I want to know real quick that a lot of your individual software providers will be able to maybe assist you a little bit, or may have some documentation, available on their websites regarding this. But one of the benefits of working with a more comprehensive hosting provider is they're going to be able to help you implement those across all of your solutions, and they're going to have better, broader knowledge as far as the applicability and the interoperability between vendors and stuff like that could also be risks.
Yeah, and these applications can be complicated. They can be buggy. So it takes years experience working with them and understanding their nuances and their challenges. And yeah, especially a provider that's focusing on accounting firms, they understand the challenges of them and documenting that. And then obviously, work with a provider that's getting a SOC 2 Type 2 audit and has a lot of these policies and documenting all these things that they're doing related to FTC and encryption and two-factor. And of course, that's verified and validated by a third-party audit, which is the key. Trust but verify, as they say. All right, are we at the point where we have questions answered?
I think that we've gotten to all of them. Maybe Kathleen will tell me. You did see the results, right, Chris?
I did not, but that's okay.
Okay, well, if you just reload that poll number on your screen, go out of it, go back to it, it should show you the results right there.
I'm not seeing that. That's okay.
Okay. Yeah, the final results I had was yes, we're all set, 24.8%, not sure, about 27, not yet, still working on it, was about 36, and they need help is about 4, and 7% or so said they would rather not say.
Excellent. Thank you. So moving on to maximizing security posture, and we're going to try to help you, give you some ground level things you could take back to your firm today, because there's a lot of information, especially the next 3-4 slides here. One, advanced threat protection. This is usually rolling out a multitude of different technologies. There's not one silver bullet, if you will, that will take care of anything. One, by far, the thing you can do that will make the biggest difference today is adopting a next generation antivirus technology. These are companies like CrowdStrike, Carbon Black, SentinelOne. These are the more, yes, expensive, but the most advanced antivirus products out there. Unfortunately, for those who've been in the industry for a while, your traditional definition antivirus program that's updating, let's say, 3 to 8 times a day is not going to do the job. We know the threat actors are creating what are called big game phishing. They're creating one-off viruses or malwares that penetrate your network that often a definition-based antivirus will not stop. And this is where next-gen AVs come into play. Yes, it's pricey. It is complicated to get into, but if you're working with the right provider, they will get you. And this is by far the number one thing I would suggest that all firms jump on right away. Second, you can get into the managed detection response. You having a SaaS, a security as a service vendor, working with you, monitoring your NGAV and that insight data. This is usually a third-party company that would help you manage and respond to a threat and getting that insight data. Also through NGAVs like CrowdStrike, Carbon Black, and SentinelOne, they're going to give you that endpoint telemetry data. As a cybersecurity person, this is key. If a threat gets in, how did it get there? Where did it come from? Did it come to an email? Did somebody click on something? Is something open on your firewall? Having that insight data is key to protect your network. It may have happened, but we got to stop it from happening again. Adopting DNS filtering. You know, the internet is still the wild, wild west. If you just have access to the internet, you can go anywhere you want in the world, but having a DNS filter on every computer or on your network will help mitigate the risk of potentially you going somewhere you wouldn't want to go. Yes, companies like Cisco Umbrella are great products out there that will help minimize the potential of a threat. Adopting and implementing an intrusion prevention system. This is usually on your firewall technologies. WatchGuard has a great product that we recommend that has a software that will actually help mitigate and look for behavior that's trying to penetrate your network. Utilize reputation-based threat prevention. These are also on usually firewall technologies that will help mitigate the risk. And MFA. We're going to talk about that a couple more times because MFA is by far also, on top of adopting an NGAV, MFA really puts a barrier between somebody using your credentials without your knowledge and getting into critical systems. Maximizing your security posture. This is on some of this is on the reaction side, but it's also a key component of establishing a security posture. Multiple backups daily and using separate backup solutions. You're usually not used to hearing that. A lot of firms or a lot of IT companies tout that they're going to back up your data 7, 10 times a day. Therefore, what could go wrong? Well, unfortunately, the threat actors know this. One of the first things they do once they get into your network, after you exploit you just a bit, they're going to find out what kind of backup system. And there's easy traces of that where all over the network. So if they're using, let's say, a specific make and model, they know what you're using, and they're going to know the commands to stop the backups or destroy your backups. Therefore, if they get a malware into your network, encrypt all your data, you don't have backups to work with. This is why it's key to have multiple separate backups stored off the network, separate completely with different credentials, isolated offline, not connected to your production network. Data must be encrypted at rest and in transit at all times. Enforcing loose privilege model, and that means not everybody needs admin rights. And a lot of firms, unfortunately, we've seen this in the wild where, especially the auditing side, people that travel a lot, they want those credentials to be able to install software on the fly. Well, that's against best practice, that's against insurance, that's against FTC, and it's also a cyber threat. You're giving the cyber attackers the privileges, if you have admin rights, to attack your entire network. That's fine if you have two accounts. One is an admin account and one is your user account that you use daily, but you should use your user account daily that has least privilege model and is locked down just for production. And if you need to install something on the road, maybe you do have a separate account that you use occasionally for those maintenance periods. Seek security counsel that with a firm or an expert that understands IT security. A lot of law firms, a lot of lawyers in general don't understand this complex stuff. We've seen this time and time again. There's a specialty legal group out there that focuses on cyber attacks and cyber threats and all the risks and third person and first persons and threat actors and proof of life and ransomware, et cetera. This is complex stuff. And it requires the experts to look at the contracts, look at your doing the pen testing, et cetera. Maintain and test your disaster recovery plan. Again, reminder, stored offline, not on your network because you may not have access to your network at the time. And practice zero trust. We're going to say that a couple more times also. Trust but verify everything these days. Here's something you usually don't hear your IT company talk about. Let's talk about insurance for a little bit because a lot of firms are getting surprised about what's happening. Either denied claims, costs are going through the roof, the questionnaires are getting more involved, and answering those questions honestly is key. That is a legal document. We already know cyber insurance premiums are up by 50+%. And a lot of them are dropping out of the market completely because they're getting hit left and right. Cyber attacks are on the rise, and insurance companies are paying out, much like the hurricane insurance industry in Florida. Carriers are reducing limits. Carriers are also sending compliance checks. It used to be 10 quick multiple guess questions. Now they want to know 40+ security questions. And I can't stress enough, you must answer these truthfully and honestly. Don't give your insurance carrier a reason to decline your claim. If you say you're doing MFA on everything, then you must be doing MFA on everything. Don't give the insurance company a reason to deny the claim. Coverage is less negotiable. A lot of companies are dropping out of this market. Cyber responsive roles are shifting from CIOs to CEOs and CFOs and COOs. And requiring MFA, encrypted backups, and a disaster recovery plan is required these days. Also, social engineering, adopting technologies like know before, et cetera, is also, we're seeing a lot of those questions. And using terminal services is a big red flag. So this is something that's on the change, and I highly recommend you do your due diligence. Again, don't trust the salesperson. Have a cyber attorney that specializes in cyber insurance and cybersecurity review your binder. It doesn't matter what the insurance salesperson says. What matters is what the binder says, and that's the key component. Shift your risk, check your cyber insurance plan. There's a big difference between first person and third person's coverage. And understanding those threats and understanding if you were hit by a cyber attack, where do you need protection? While you're trying to recover from a cyber attack, your team is going to be working overtime to try to put the company back together. Well, you still have to pay them no matter what. This is where cyber first person's coverage kicks in. Third person's party coverage covers those claims, the losses your customers have endured because of any challenges you have. And knowing the difference between the two of them and the limits is key. Make sure you have ransomware insurance. And also, is the ransomware going to be paid up front or on a recovery basis? Meaning, are they going to pay you back after you pay the ransomware through Bitcoin, or are they going to put the money up front? If the ransom was $2 million, do you have a $2 million in cash to send to the ransomware attacker? Don't assume, validate what is covered. Again, read the binder and have a qualified attorney review that with you. List the broker of understands cyber liability policy. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had over the years where I'm working with, as a business owner myself, we have insurances, of course, and we're talking to people that they're selling things they don't necessarily understand. So working with a cyber attorney and understanding the threats and what is built in the binder and what is not is key. False safeguards can lead to denial of claims, meaning if you're filling out that form, they're answering 10 to 50 questions about what are you doing about cyber insurance or cybersecurity in general, and what are your practices internally. If you were wrong on those answers, that gives them a reason to decline your claim. And that could be the end of your business, unfortunately. So it's key that you're honest. Yes, you may get hit with a little bit of more of an increase in premium, but you don't want to find out on the bad side of that. So you've been hit. Let's say, what do you do at that point? First of all, your adrenaline is going to be running 300 miles per hour. You're going to activate your DR plan, hopefully you've been working on over the months prior. You're going to enlist the security of the cybersecurity experts. You contact a breach coach. Usually your insurance carrier will assign you somebody. They are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They will walk you through the process. Get your insurance carrier involved immediately. These are the experts. They know how to do this. They unfortunately are dealing with a lot of them. And they're going to guide you and walk you through on what to do next. They're going to arm you with the attorneys. They're going to do the forensics. They're going to do the proof of life. They'll coordinate the transfer of Bitcoin, etc. This is key. We're getting them involved right away. Consult with your incident response team. Document everything as you go through this process. Be very careful what you're saying to your customers. And listen to your attorney that's advising you throughout the process. Engage internal and external teams. This is an all-hands effort at this point. Your company is fighting for survival. And so this is an all-hands. And don't try to do this on your own. This is something that's overwhelming. It's not just the IT team. It's not just the office manager or the CFO. This is an all-hands effort. And hopefully you have already put together a team for your DR plan. And listen to the experts as they guide you through this process. You can't do this by yourself. So let's talk about your hybrid workforce, and because a lot of things are changing in the landscape in the accounting space. More of us are working from home than ever, especially after COVID, and more firms are looking to international offshoring because of the staffing issue that we have in the industry. So here's some best practices that I would advise you to adopt. One, if you're in a densely populated area, especially use wire connections. Wireless is not secure, and especially public Wi-Fi connections. The Starbucks down the road, yes, it's convenient. Yes, it's nice having a mocha latte, but while you do your work, but it is not secure. Use a private piece of equipment. Review and monitor all your equipment, and that means all the hardware you're using, printers, scanners, smart home devices. Run updates on everything as you go out throughout the month, etc. Your iPhone, the Android, the printers, the fax machines. I just aged myself. Everything you can think of has patches, most likely, if it has a computer attached to it. Only use secure, known Wi-Fi networks. enforce MFA on all access points at every level, every website, every application you use. Deploy an NGAV on all workstations, especially if you have people working from home. This is critical because you don't know what's happening to that computer when they're not working. Maybe the kids are using it. Maybe somebody in the family is using it. Having an NGAV will minimize your risks significantly. And lock down those admin rights. If you're a firm that allows admin rights to your local machines, you're setting yourself up potentially for an attack. Locking down those rights, and yes, it is inconvenient, but there's nothing convenient about security, but removing those admin rights on all devices so that if somebody did click on something, somebody did open something, you didn't just give the threat actor full access to either your network or that local machine. So a lot of people are adopting these Internet of Things devices. We've got the Alexas, the smart things, et cetera. If they're running on your home network, you're potentially a threat. These are often very inexpensive devices that don't have a lot of updates. Cybersecurity is not on the front burner of their thoughts. Enabling smart home technologies, for example, the Alexas, et cetera, put those on a separate wireless network. A lot of Wi-Fi devices that are coming from your cable modem or your, let's say, Verizon Fios, the router will come with 2 Wi-Fi networks already enabled. One's designed for Internet of Things, and one is designed for your home office. Put all those smart home devices on a separate wireless network because they are vulnerable. We know they're vulnerable. TVs, printers, the SmartThing devices, the Philips Hue lights, you name it, all the garage door openers, keep those separate and make them a policy here. So your production network, your work environment is the most secure it could possibly be. And if you can, run updates on them. But again, the best practice is to keep them separate from your production network. Enlist the cybersecurity training for all staff members and make it a requirement and bring the entire team along. This is all of us trying to work together collectively to make sure our firm is secure no matter what. Don't just put the burden on one person in your office. This is protecting the whole firm because we're all at threat. Employees, we know our #1 line of defense and cause of infection. Often it's the social engineering, the links, the attachments, et cetera, that inadvertently or accidentally or got tricked into clicking on something. And create a culture that we're in this together. People do get tricked. People are often worried that they clicked on something and might have caused something, and they will not admit it. You want to know what's going on. People could get tricked into clicking on things. Develop an ongoing cybersecurity training program like KnowBe4. These are automated tools. They're very inexpensive. They enroll your team. They require a certain amount of training and reading and testing and verifying. You can also set up testing cases to send out to your staff to test your training, and not to penalize people, but to also encourage them and to be transparent and bring them along for the ride and make this a team effort. Educate, remind, and reinforce, test your qualify your training, and inspire ownership. We need to work together at this. We know these applications and systems are not as secure as they could be. So this is something we could bring the whole team along to be more secure as a firm, protecting all of our jobs. Isaac, we have another question, sir.
Okay, looks like this is question number 3. And make sure everybody's got time to get back in front of their keyboard. What is your current IT status? On-premise, your systems are on-premise and you're not making to look a change in 23, 24. Your systems are on-premise and you are looking for an IT provider. You are already in the cloud today and you're not looking to make a change, or you are in the cloud, but you're also looking for a new IT provider. I had a question, Chris, just when you were addressing smart speakers and stuff. How comfortable should a tax professional be if they've got a smart speaker in a room in which they may see clients during engagements, where potentially the speaker could hear them talk about?
And all those devices I would try to keep physically separated off network. Every one of these devices are developed and created by a human being, and depending on who they are and where they are in the market and how mature they are in the market, they may not be the most secure. For example, if you compare companies like Microsoft, which are much larger, have a bigger, more clients out there, they're going to be putting a lot more effort into protecting the reputation on the market. And they're probably going to put a lot of more R&D dollars. It's the smaller, unfortunately, the smaller innovative, often very innovative companies that don't have the bandwidth to make their technologies as secure. My practice, my best practice is We keep all Internet of Things devices completely physically separated on a separate, Wi-Fi network on the network at all times. Because you can't put an AI security technology on a smart speaker or a printer or any of those devices.
Okay, it looks like Kathleen has sent out the results to our viewers, and the results I'm looking at are, what is your current IT status? We had about a little over half say they are still using on-premise systems, and they're not looking to make a change. I hope we can convince them a little bit, because on-premise does not equal secure, especially from disaster, but also from security threats. The second largest group is about 30% of the people on this webcast say they are already in the cloud and they're pretty happy with it. And then we've got, about 11% are on premise with their accounting systems, but they are looking to move to the cloud.
Thank you, Isaac. And I'm going to be, it's about 1:50 now here, and I've got a last group of slides here. I'm going to be sensitive with your time also, try to meet the deadline here. So, if this is all overwhelming and you've been taking notes like crazy and you're thinking, oh my gosh, how can we possibly overcome all these challenges at once and all these deadlines on top of the normal workload that you're carrying as tax preparers and taking care of your customers? Maybe outsourcing is an option for you. And there's some things I would, doing this now for 23 years, there are some things you should know about outsourcing, but there's a lot of value. The same reason I outsource all of my accounting, actually, and my tax and my controller services. So one of the things you may want to look at is, looking at the risks and maybe shifting those risks to another firm like an outsourcing company, like a cloud provider. Often they have stronger security technologies. This is what they do. This is what they focus on. And there's a big difference between trying to be everything. Again, same reason why I outsource certain parts of my business. Gain teams of cybersecurity experts. As a cloud provider, I could tell you that cybersecurity is number one thing we focus on, because if we're hosting clients' data, we have to do anything and everything that's available on the market to protect our customers' data. Just some insight from an IT provider like myself. We got guide and enforce involvement threats. You get your time back. You get to focus on what you do best. Again, outsourcing and focusing on what you do best for your customer. And you'll have peace of mind knowing you have the experts managing the problem. Let's talk about some dollars and cents. How much money should you be investing into IT? Top firms are investing 5 to 6% of annual revenues annually on technology. And of that 5 to 6%, firms are spending 5 to 10% of the IT budget on security. And you may want to take a snipping, but we do have the slide deck. So if you're trying to justify to the owners or the firm, how can we invest? What are the stats? This is from Mark Stout at Boomer Consulting, where we got these numbers. So there's some reliable data here to help engage you on where you are in your spending. The trend will be upwards, especially with cyber liability insurance providers are almost requiring advanced threat protection. That means the two-factor, the encryption, all the things that we least privilege model, rolling out these policies, investing in technology that help mitigate risks. These are some big expensive items, and we know that firms that are not there already are going to have to invest the time and cost to absorb the license and implement it to their team. And the potential to return on investment is significant for firms wanting to mitigate risk to help prevent loss of revenue. Going back to that slide, the average threat is costing firms $4.5 million in losses by one cyber attack. And then when you compare that to annual costs of IT over 3 to 5 years, I guarantee that it will be less cost to invest a lot in security. But these are some guiding principles on how much money firms are spending. And then the next question is, now being doing this for 23 years, we've seen a lot of pop-up cloud providers, I'll say. And there's some questions you should be asking your provider. If you're thinking of outsourcing, one, I highly recommend you talk to a firm that understands your space. Accounting firms are different. I'm in the IT space with DoD and DOJ background, but IT in the accounting space is different. You have unique applications. You have unique schedules. You have unique deadlines that often a lot of companies don't understand. Absolutely talked about the firm's downtime history and verify through reference checks. What are they doing now to protect your data? Is it data encrypted at rest and in transit? something I highly recommend is are they SOC 2 Type 2 audited? And HIPAA, depending on who you are and what kind of data you're storing, if you're really storing a lot of potential confidential data and your firm is hosting data for medical practices, HIPAA may become applicable. Are they adopting NGAV out of the box on every product they host at their data centers? NGAV is not something you kind of adopt. NGAV is something you adopt on every device, and that's key. It should not be an upgrade for you. It should be a standard. And are they practicing 2FA on every device and every and methodology? Are they really get a strong sense of security is their priority? Where's your data? Is it in the United States? Or is it in another country? You lose a lot of rights as a US-based company if it goes across that great pond. So you want to make sure that your data and your provider is US-based. Are there parts of the solution outsourced in any way, shape, or form? Support, management, etc. I highly recommend sticking with companies that are 100% in-house. Better quality, better security, etc. And what are your guarantees? A lot of cloud providers like myself are negotiable. They should be putting skin in the game. They should give you an opt out if they're not living up to the plan, if they're not maintaining the uptime and support and SLAs. We call them in our world the service level agreements. And holding your firm or the vendor accountable for those SLAs is key. And if they break that SLA, do you have the option of getting out of your contract? A lot of cloud providers will negotiate with you. And if there are certain things you're looking for in the contract, absolutely ask or insist that they put them in the contract. And here's a security checklist you could take home right now today. MFA for everything, backups, multiple, segregated offline. And when we say multiple backups, we're talking about 2 separate technologies. Aggressive patch management every month, including in the middle of tax season. Encrypt all the data at rest and in transit. NGAVs on every server, every workstation, 100% across the environment. And going back to aggressive patch management, we highly recommend you use a tool to do that. Don't leave it up to your staff to do that. We've seen that model not be successful. Enroll into a cybersecurity awareness training for all staff. Measure it, bring your team along. Create an incident response plan and DR plan. Review your cybersecurity insurance. And again, don't trust the salesperson. Look at the binder and enlist the help of a cybersecurity attorney. Maintain security compliance and enlist the help of experts. And this could dig a little deeper. Your IT person isn't always the subject matter expert on security. Just because they know how to work on a workstation or a server doesn't make them a security expert. Much like tax and audit are 2 different worlds, IT and security IT are 2 different worlds. And I really highly recommend you work with the experts when it comes to cybersecurity. Little bit of a brag sheet here, and I promise that there's the only one slide of brag sheet about us. We're doing all these things, by the way. We're constantly following best practices in FTC, and we understand the challenges of why accounting firms are adopting a hybrid work model. So adopting a cloud model, outsourcing your IT to a firm or a company like CTROM that does this for a living may be an option for you. It doesn't hurt to at least do the cost-benefit analysis. And that way you and your firm can focus on what you do best and keeping your clients happy. And at this time, I've got about 2 minutes left. We're absolutely going to open this up for questions and answers. If you please absolutely put something in the chat group. I'm also going to leave my contact information here on this slide deck. We will leave this up for the end of the slide. Please copy down or snippet our contact information if you want to talk offline about your specific problem or challenge. And at this note, I'm going to turn it over to Emily, who may have some questions that may have come through that we can help you with.
Tell you what, Chris, the chat has been very active throughout the session. Lots of you coming in with great questions. Definitely recommend the next couple of minutes, go into the resource section and download those items. I know a few of you have asked about WISP. We do have a template available in the resource section there. We did have a couple questions here. What advice would you give a firm on the fence about outsourcing their IT to a provider? So it sounds like that might have been that 50%.
Yeah, and it's the same reason I outsource my accounting. We're technology people, and this is what we do well. I'm not an accountant, and we bring on the experts to focus on that challenge for us. And I would kind of goes back to the old hedgehog theory. Focus on what you do best and bring in the experts. Obviously, do your homework, do your due diligence, qualify the vendor, check references. Really, if you're getting involved with an IT provider, really check as many references as you feel comfortable with, test drive the product, et cetera, and talk to other accounting firms that are using their product for many years. This is key, and it's not just the cloud, but how are they going to handle support? Are they responsive on the support time? Are they getting problems resolved in a timely manner? These are all great questions to ask. IT is complicated stuff, and accounting firms are getting thrown a lot of different business challenges, from FTC compliance, the insurance compliances, the staffing issues, the constant change in IT. It's, as an IT provider ourselves, it is overwhelming. And this is what we do for a living. So I can't even imagine what firms are trying to do on their own.
Great. Thank you, Chris. We've had a number of folks chime in, a little bit more on the smaller side, a few sole practitioners, a few 3 or 4 folks that are really trying to look how they can maximize their security, but they're concerned about cost. What recommendations would you give to them, or at least a few steps that they could start to help secure their data?
Adopting an NGAV like CrowdStrike, Carbon Black, or SentinelOne is by far the strongest technology, low-hanging fruit that you can adopt today. Hopefully you're working with an IT vendor of some sort that can guide you in adopting one of these technologies. That is one of the strongest things you can do. Maybe even linking up with a managed services provider locally that's doing your MSP and patching and updating and locking all these workstations. You're going to have to invest in IT to secure your data and your clients' data and make sure you're following best practices. This is something that's complicated stuff. It can't just be done on our own. But unfortunately, there are a lot of regulations now in place as of June 9th that if you're not doing these things, the fines can be significant. Oh, Em, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Sorry, we've had a number of folks chime in here regarding costs. They are interested in learning more about CTROM. I wanted to provide, if you want to reach out to sales@ctrom.com, we would be happy to speak with you about your current needs. CTROM does provide customizable pricing. And with that, we have all those resources available to you. Definitely take a minute to download those. A number of you have reached out about the WISP template as well. It is available on the IRS website, irs.gov/pub/irs-PDF, and it's in regards to publication 5708. So if you just search 5708 or download it from resources, that'll help you there.
Excellent.
Okay, I think we are near the end of our time. I wish I could do my little closing statement and send people who need to go on their way, and that we could continue talking to answer questions. Unfortunately, to get to the post-event survey, we do have to end the webcast here. So to everybody out there that participated, we hope you enjoyed the CPE webcast, and I want to thank you all for attending, and thank you to Chris and CTROM and Emily for making this event possible. And it's because of them we're able to offer the CPE credit. As soon as I'm done, you're going to be presented with a post-event survey, and it will appear on your screen, and you will receive the CPE certificate in your email, the same email that you used to register. I want to remind you all again that, there was a lot of information in this, but there's also some really good checklists and the slide deck and some other resources that are available for you to download, print, save them, whatever you want to do. They're in the event resources tab or button on your screen. By the way, the email that will come with your CPE, keep an eye out for webcast admin as the sender. So right now, it looks like we are done for the day. Once again, thanks, Chris and CTROM. And our audio and this event will end in right now.
Thank you all.